today's topic, we're going to be discussing the ins and outs of financial reporting. Okay, so now we want to get down to kind of the nitty-gritty regarding reports. For any of you guys who were on the webinar last week, we dove into reporting a little bit as far as some of the basic financial reports that roll into our overall accounting structure. So some of that you may see again here, but we also want to talk about some of the additional reporting areas that can be beneficial to a company and their business needs. So what we want to go ahead and talk through is general report navigation, how we're getting to those reports in QuickBooks, and what the different reporting areas or modules mean within that report sector. How to customize reports and what QBAR is. That's an acronym that we use. It stands for QuickBooks Advanced Reporting. How to memorize reports so that you can go ahead and use any kind of customized or modified report going forward. We don't need to worry about setting up those filters every time we run a report. And then some additional common financial reports and how they can assist your business. All right, talking through general report navigation and modification, we're going to take a look at where we can go to run reports in general, what a quick report is and what that snapshot information can provide, and then how we go about customizing reports. If I go ahead and come in here to our QuickBooks system, I've got a sample file open. For anyone who's used QuickBooks, you know that there's multiple ways you can navigate to things, which makes it helpful when you're trying to find something. If I come up here to our Reports tab and choose from this drop-down menu, it gives us a list of the stock reports and the different reporting areas that QuickBooks has available. Depending on the version that you are in, QuickBooks may have some additional reports specific to that industry. So for example, if you're in a contracting edition or nonprofit edition, you might see an additional section here that provides insight specific to your company. One of the other areas you can go to reports is from this report center. I've got it open here. This gives you a little bit more of a visual area to navigate to the different reporting sections. As you can see over here on the left-hand side, we've got those same options here as we do under our Reports tab to look at the different reporting areas in QuickBooks. We've also got some new functionality in here where we can do things like favorite a report if it's a frequently run report that we want to be able to refer back to regularly. We've also got this Memorize tab, which again is very helpful when we've modified or customized a report and we want to make sure that we can save those filters and have them apply the next time we run a report. We've also got Recent Reports to help us show what we've used currently. So for example, if we go in and we run our balance sheet or profit and loss, that would show in here as far as a report that was run last, to help identify if that's something we need to look at again. When we talk about quick reports, what that does is it gives us a little bit of a snapshot view regarding that information inside of QuickBooks. I often see these run when we're talking about inventory with our product and services list, or when we're looking at any kind of customer balance information. If I, for example, navigate in here to our customer center, you can see up top with the customer that I've selected, it gives us our customer information window, and then down below it shows our transactional data. Over here to the right, you'll see this option that says Quick Report. This is something you can run across the board with list data like customers, vendors, items, and accounts on our chart of accounts. If I go ahead and choose to run a quick report here, what that does is it gives me all transactional information associated with that customer name based off of the date specified. You can always come in and adjust this date from here, but essentially it's giving you all of the history associated with that particular list element inside of QuickBooks. This can be helpful if you're trying to refer back to a transaction as of a certain period in time. You can use that quick report function to run the history on that item and then drill down into that detail. One of the other important features that's available when we talk about reporting is being able to customize reports. For example, if I'm on this report here and I want to make an adjustment to the detail that I'm seeing, I can come up here to where it says Customize Report. And this now gives me the modification area where I can change the parameters that are showing for my report. You'll notice here on this Display tab that it tells me the columns that are showing. The Display and the Filters tab are going to be the two primary tabs we look at when we talk about making modifications to a report. Again, coming back here to this Display tab first, you can see that anything that has a check mark is a column that's represented on my report. So if I uncheck something, it will remove it from the report, and if I check it, it's going to add it. I can also do a search for a column rather than scrolling down to try to quickly identify the field that I want to add to the report. On my Filters tab, this gives us the option to apply some sort of filter to whittle down the information that we are looking at. For example, here on the right-hand side, you can see these are the current filter choices set based off of how this report automatically ran. So it's set to include the date, which is this month to date, the detail level, which is in summary form, so the transactions will just show as a balance. We won't have the line item detail of those transactions. The name is Fourlane, that's the customer that I ran it for, and then a posting status of either. So this includes non-posting transactions like estimates, sales orders, and purchase orders, as well as posting transactions like invoices, bills, journal entries, etc. So similar to my Display tab, I can choose from a filter here, and once I select that filter, I can then choose how I want that filter to be applied. So I can scroll down, I can choose to say, only show me transactions of a certain dollar value, for example, if I want to look at anything over a certain amount. If I only wanted to see posting transactions, meaning transactions that are actually hitting our GL accounts, I can adjust these set filters as well. Ultimately, once you've chosen the filters, that will work to update the report to show only the information that you've specified. You can also see in the upper left-hand corner here where it says Show Filters. If I choose this, QuickBooks is going to tell me the filters that are set, and if I work to remove one of these, it will go ahead and update the filter from here. So if I had applied an additional filter to, let's say, only show me a certain dollar value, I could choose to close out that filter and the report would update to bring back transactions for all dollar values. Like I said, this feature is really nice in order to identify the specific reporting information that you're trying to look at. And then from here, what it allows us to do is then move into the next step, which is memorizing reports. So if I go ahead and come back in here to our QuickBooks file, you'll see in the same upper portion here that there's an option that says memorize. Once I've set a report with the parameters that I want, I can go ahead and choose memorize report. What happens here is QuickBooks will bring up a window that says memorize report, choose a name for the report, and then I can also select if I want this report to be added to a specific report group. QuickBooks automatically has a handful of report groups available that this can go into, or you can also create your own group. So if I go ahead and say save in a memorized group, I can choose here from my drop-down menu of report groups of where I want this report to be located. And then last, I can also choose if I want to share this report with others. I can go ahead and say okay here and okay. QuickBooks is letting me know that there's a problem with the filter. I'm going to go ahead and say okay here. Of course, sample file doesn't want to save that report for me, but those are the steps you would go ahead and take when memorizing a report. And then in order to see any of those specialty reports that we've saved, we can come up here to our Reports tab. And then you'll notice here right under Reports Center, we've got this option that says Memorized Report. So I can come in here and look at the entirety of our memorized report list, or I can choose a specific report group and look at the reports that are available in that subsection and choose one to populate. So I can come in here, I can navigate to my memorized report list. And again, similar to almost that chart of account structure where we've got our parent and sub-accounts, that's kind of how the memorized report list looks. It's got our report headers here, and then the reports that we've created that sit in each of these groups. So like I said, being able to customize and modify the reports is extremely important to make sure that the report is only showing the information you want to look at. And then being able to memorize that report as a second step helps ensure reporting efficiency with being able to run that report going forward without having to go back in and choose all of those customizations and filters again. Now that we've talked through just kind of some general report navigation, how to customize a report, how to memorize it, and then what those quick reports can show us, I want to go ahead and go through some additional reporting areas in QuickBooks. Like I said, I know we've talked a lot about the standard stock reports like balance sheet, profit and loss, accounts receivable, and accounts aging. But I want to go through and take a look at some additional reports that I think would be really helpful as far as business insight to operations. So let's go ahead and talk through what other reports are available to give you business information for company decisions. If we come in here to our Reports tab, the first area I want to take a look at is our sales reports. We've got several here, and one of the nice things that QuickBooks always offers in most report forms is they do give you a summary versus a detail form. So what that allows you to do is the summary form is just going to give you general balance information, open balance line items, versus the detail is going to show you individual line items on transactions, as well as the transactions as a whole versus just a customer or vendor having an overall balance. When we talk through some customer related reports and what they provide, the customer summary report is a big one I like to look at with clients. It helps you identify which customers are buying from you regularly and or possibly buying in high dollar amounts from you. I've got a lot of clients who like to use this report to help give information as far as what customers they may want to target on their next marketing campaign, as well as what customers they would possibly want to apply a discount to in order to keep that business relationship solid. Some of the other areas we can look at related to sales include a sales by item report as well as sales by rep. So again, if we come back here, we've got our summary as well as detail options. What the sales by item report can help with is creating any kind of budget for future item purchases. I've also got clients who will use this as a way to streamline their item list. So if you're looking to identify which items you sell regularly or in bulk versus items that are being sold at a low quantity or possibly have a low margin, the sales by item report can help do that. It can also help identify what products, again, talking about any kind of marketing or advertising that you're doing, what you may want to promote further to help bring in business, or what you may want to keep on your marketing campaign in order to make sure that that item is a bestseller. The sales by rep reports are extremely important when talking about any kind of commission or bonus structures. So if we're using that to identify sales across our team members, The sales by rep report is a great one to identify who is selling the most. I've also got clients who don't necessarily use this to identify individual reps, but sometimes they can use this rep field to identify sales for certain departments or divisions in their company, or even different locations within the company. So that rep field doesn't have to be limited to designating it to a certain team member or person. You can use it for any kind of means to identify differences in your sales, to again help note where we might need to strategize or make adjustments as far as what our promotion is to our customers. Now, some of the additional areas we want to look at, not just on the sales side, are also going to be on the vendor side of things, as well as looking at job profitability as a whole. So in addition to sales, we've got this great jobs, time, and mileage area for anyone who's doing any kind of time and materials billing and job tracking. Now, we see this especially in sectors like construction, where we are providing some sort of estimate or quote up front to our customer to act as a budget for our job or project. And then in addition to that, what we can do is track expenses against that job and identify what we've invoiced to our customers to look at overall revenue versus expenses incurred on that job. We like to call that estimates versus actuals. And again, we see that option here in summary or detail form. Another thing we can look at in general, even if we aren't doing any kind of quoting, or sometimes we may even be doing that quoting outside of the system. I see a lot of our construction clients, especially with the AIA building and specialty reporting that they need doing quoting outside of the system. We can still look at overall job profitability. So again, what QuickBooks is going to tell us with these reports is what information we've expensed to a particular customer or job, as well as how much we've invoiced, and therefore how much have we made or potentially lost on that particular job. So it's giving us our profit margin to know where we may need to make adjustments if that job is still open, or how we can adjust going forward for future jobs that are similar. Next, we can talk about the purchasing side. So again, these sales and purchasing side of the reports that we have are going to couple together and meet in the middle to help provide that job profitability and estimates versus actual information. So when I come down here and I talk about our purchases, similar to the sales side, we've got reports like purchases by vendor. Again, we can use this report to help identify what vendors we're spending a lot of money with to maybe potentially promote getting some sort of discount for bulk buying. We can also identify if there are vendors that we're maybe buying more specialty or niche products from, if that's something that we can possibly push into a purchase with one of our more regular vendors so that we don't have as many suppliers that we're working with. When talking about purchases by item, one of the things that I have a lot of clients use this for is for some sort of forecasting as far as expected purchases for the next year. Again, especially if we do any kind of bulk buying, this can be used almost like a budget or forecasting tool to help identify how much we would likely need to buy in the upcoming year based off of what was purchased in the current year. Leading into our purchases by item, that takes us to inventory and how we're ultimately going to track our product and services list. One of the big reports I like to look at here regularly with clients is our inventory stock status by item report. I'm going to go ahead and run this one just because it's got so much information to provide us as far as our product and services list that I want to go ahead and take a look at it. You can see here on this stock status by item report, it essentially gives us kind of a snapshot view of where we're at with our items list. It's got things like an item category, if we've worked to divide our inventory out by product types, different revenue streams, etc. Preferred vendor list, which is extremely important. This can be helpful in some automation of purchase orders for future orders with our vendors. So if we've got a preferred vendor set up, we're able to create those purchase orders more quickly and efficiently inside of QuickBooks. And then we've got reorder points. So this helps us establish a healthy quantity on hand based off of our regular sales to know what we would need to keep in order to accomplish our customer order fulfillment. We've then got what our total quantity on hand is at that point in time. So again, just being mindful of the date range that you're running this report for. It's always going to apply to as of current, but you can look at it historically, but we should be looking at that as of current in the present tense so that we can know what's available to fulfill our customer orders. If we continue over here to the right, these are the additional columns that are very helpful in order to know how we need to manage our products and services. So we've got what we've got open on a sales order with our customers, what we expect to fulfill, anything on assemblies. So if we're doing any kind of manufacturing in-house and putting products together, this tells us what we're expecting to build out. Unit of measure, which again, if we're tracking that associated with our products, it would let us know what that default is. What we need to order based off of these min-max quantities. If we do already have anything set on a purchase order that we'd be receiving in, and then what our ultimate reorder quantity is. So again, this report is extremely valuable when talking about customer order fulfillment, as well as being efficient with our ordering from our vendors to ensure that we're keeping a proper supply list for what our expected orders are. The last area that I want to go ahead and look at with you guys, like I said, we kind of took a brief view through the overall high-level areas in QuickBooks as far as talking through some additional sales reports that can be helpful for customer order fulfillment as well as item insight, and then the purchasing side to make sure that our ordering from our vendors is efficient in order to accomplish our customer fulfillment. Those all ultimately function to roll into, kind of a higher level topic that we want to look at, which is our business operation and financial overview. So one of the areas that we can see that we talked about budgets versus actuals when looking at individual customers and jobs. We also have the same capability to do that at the company level. So if I go ahead and come down here to our budgets and forecasts, we've got a budget overview as well as a budgets versus actual. In QuickBooks, you can work to set up a company budget to identify what expected revenue and expenses are. One of the things that's also really nice is once you've gone in and set up a budget in QuickBooks, you can use that for reference going forward to act as a base or example budget to build off of in future years. But what allows us to see is once we've set a budget in QuickBooks, as we begin invoicing our customers and fulfilling our customer orders, as well as entering expenses, both indirect or overhead expenses to the company, as well as direct expenses to our customer jobs, we can see where we sit compared to that budget to know if we need to make any kind of adjustment internally with our company operations. So again, what we see here that is the biggest thing to take away is all of these areas are related to each other. We've got our sales related reports and purchase related reports that combine to give us our job profitability and job costing information. Our sales information as well as purchase information also gives us profitability from a company standpoint when we're talking about the overall company budget. All right, I know that was a lot of information from a reporting standpoint, but hopefully this gave you guys some additional insight into some of the other great reports that are available to give you guys great operational information as far as what the company is doing and how that is reflected inside of QuickBooks. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, but thank you guys so much for being here.